Welcome, everyone. This is episode number 13. My guest today is Gary Renard, and he comes on this podcast for the second time to talk to me a little bit more about relationships and forgiveness and how they can shape our life journey. Gary is the author of 4 best-selling books based on the teachings of A Course in Miracles, The Disappearance of the Universe, Your Immortal Reality, Love Has Forgotten No One, and The Lives When Jesus and Buddha Knew Each Other. His books have been translated in at least 26 languages. He has given talks all over the world, East and West. You know the song, I've been everywhere, man. Well, Gary has been everywhere. Now, this podcast has a few surprises. When I woke up this morning, I had no idea what's going to happen. I knew I had a meeting at 2 p.m. and then doing the podcast with Gary at 4. And then at the end of the day, Rob and I, Paul and Lois and Kyle, were to celebrate my daughter's 22nd birthday. Now, Gary has been in my and my daughter's life from the time she was about 8 years old. He saw her grow up. And soon after that, Cindy and Gary got married, and they practically became, in some ways, my daughter's other parents. When they used to come to Toronto for seminars, they stayed with us, and we developed a very close bond. When my daughter graduated, we all went to Hawaii, and Gary went ziplining with us and parasailing with me, and I went waterboarding with Cindy. She even went visiting with them twice on her own, all the way to Los Angeles, and then visited Temecula and saw Gloria. Went up to San Francisco to see Judy and Whit and Tam. So to see them both, Cindy and Azena, peek in at the end of our podcast today while trying to keep it all together and podcasty was very hard. And I hope you enjoy in our joy as it gets really mushy and loving towards the end with all these guys popping in and really turning this podcast into a joyful and grateful celebration of love, friendship, and family. This, everyone, is some of my chosen family. Welcome. Gary, it is so wonderful to have you once again on this podcast. I'm so grateful to you.
Oh, me too. Me too, Gabriela. It's always a pleasure because not only are we such good friends, but we share a philosophy and we share A Course in Miracles and know how it relates to health. And so there's a lot of great things for us to talk about.
Yeah, in our daily living. And today, with your permission and your help, Gary, I want to talk about a topic that is somewhat difficult. I want to talk about this idea of emotional cancer, living with unspoken truth, and hardship in relationship, and how important is it, or is it important for us to address or to deal with this difficulty? And what role that might play in, say, sickness of the body, of course, which is really sickness of the mind. And how can one find peace amidst resentment, amidst difficult times?
Well, I've had a very evolving way of looking at relationships. I would say that I got on a spiritual path when I was about, 28 years old. And I was into this thing called we would occasionally talk about relationships. And I was at kind of like the bottom of the ladder at that point, just starting out. And I heard the word relationships. So my attitude was relationships. I don't want relationships. I hate people. So it's like, I'm starting out at the bottom here, and it's like, relationships, yuck, and I was on a spiritual path for about 15 years before I was even ready to approach A Course in Miracles, or to have A Course in Miracles approach me, depending on how you look at it. And of course, the Course is a lot about relationships and forgiveness, and the forgiveness of relationships. And it's not an easy thing to do all the time, but it is something that is doable. And it's actually more fun. I think it's more fun to be in a relationship where you're forgiving the other person than to be in a relationship where you're in conflict. Because first of all, it saves you a lot of time. Secondly, we know how forgiveness can remove stress from your mind. Now, when I got into A Course in Miracles, things surely changed over the period of about 10 years before I was ever ready to, get out there in public and actually talk to people. And even then, I didn't want to go out there and talk to people. I was very reluctant, but you know how the Holy
You're
Spirit
shy.
was.
You're very shy.
I was.
Yeah.
I was.
Yeah.
But, since then, I've met a lot of spiritual teachers, and most of them are shy. And this goes all the way back to Moses, by the way. And I'm certainly not saying that I'm a Moses, but I'm saying that according to everything that's been written, he was a very shy person, and you wouldn't think of him as being the person out front there talking. And there are so many teachers like that, and I'm certainly one of them. And Cindy was one of them. She didn't want to do it either. I remember the first time she got up and did anything at one of my workshops, she just sang one song, and that was it. She wrote a song for me, and that was it. The next year, she introduced herself for about 2 minutes. Then the next year was 5 minutes, and so on, where every year it got longer. So now she has equal time.
Yeah.
And which brings me to my relationship with Cindy, because even though we're writing a book together about relationships, we don't really have a lot to forgive with each other. It just so happens that we're that kind of a couple. Some couples are like oil and water. They just can't get along with each other no matter how hard they try.
Yeah.
Cindy and I don't really have to try. We just naturally get along with each other, and it's very smooth and flowing and light and breezy. But then once in a while, something will happen, and we'll have a disagreement.
Yeah.
For example, we were doing a lot of workshops together, the two of us, where we would both go and speak together. And then after the COVID thing hit, I decided, okay, I'm going to get vaccinated, because I want to go out there. Like, if I want to go to Germany and speak about the course, I have to be vaccinated. Cindy decided, no, I'm not going to get vaccinated. And she's been very clear about that from the beginning. And that didn't sit too well with me, because people were used to the two of us coming, and most people wanted both of us to come. And all of a sudden, she's kind of like throwing a monkey wrench into this good thing that we got going here, where people are happy about the two of us coming, and now she's not coming.
Yeah.
And they're saying, oh, it's not quite the same. And I have gone places the last year without her, and it's gone fine, but people are always missing her and asking, oh, how's Cindy, where's Cindy? And so that was definitely a point of disagreement between us, and I had to forgive her for that. And remember, look, first of all, I made her up. And that's something that, of course, most people who aren't into A Course in Miracles, they're not going to think that way. They're going to make it real. And they're going to say, oh, this person is really screwing me up. And
Look at what she's doing.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. That's where the mind would go, the egoic mind. Yeah.
And my attitude is, okay, what I'm seeing outside of me is a symbolic representation of me, or more accurately, what's in my unconscious mind being projected outward. It's not really me, it's just a symbol, but it's a symbol of that which is hidden, something that I can't see. So let's say that I'm upset at anybody, and let's say somebody's acting crazy or stupid, and as I am thinking of it at the time, and I'll stop myself and I think, well, wait a minute, that person's stupidity is my stupidity. It's my own stupidity that I secretly feel about myself, what the Course calls the secret sins and hidden hates that you really have about yourself, that you have chosen to project out there onto the screen. Now, why am I stupid? I don't think I'm stupid because of what I'm doing in the world right now, but I do think secretly that I am stupid because I secretly believed that I separated from God. That just like the prodigal son, I threw it all away. I made a stupid decision. I decided to leave heaven. So deep down there in my unconscious mind, I feel stupid for doing that. And I couldn't take that at the beginning of time. So the way the ego convinced me to get rid of it was to project it out there and see it as being outside of it. And that is true of any time when you think that somebody is behaving stupidly or insanely, and people will still act insane. You're not going to stop that whole projection from acting insane, because that's the ego script. That's the way it's written. People are going to do crazy things. When Jesus was enlightened, people did not stop doing crazy things around him or to him. But it was all about the way that he was looking at it. If you read the message of the crucifixion and A Course in Miracles, you notice he never says very much about what they're doing to him. It's always about the way that he's looking at it. And that's the way that we can be. Now, you're not a victim anymore. You can reinterpret everything. And you can say, okay, what I'm seeing outside of me, that stupidity is my stupidity, but if I forgive it, not by making it real and then forgiving it, which doesn't work, as the Course says,
It reinforces the original idea of separation. Yeah.
Right. So the Course says you've made it real, so you cannot forgive it. You can only forgive it if you don't make it real and let it go and replace it with the truth. And the truth is the perfect oneness of heaven, because that person is not really a person. That person is a symbol. And so we overlook the symbol and replace it with reality in our mind. And because of the way the mind works, we know that if we think of that person that way, then that is how, in our unconscious mind, we will think about ourselves. We are actually changing our own identity by changing the way that we think about that person. So if that person is innocent, then so am I. If that person is guilty, then so am I. And which would you rather be? Especially when you consider the fact that if you forgive, things in general seem to go better anyway. Because when you're coming from a place of resistance and conflict, it creates more resistance and conflict. It doesn't solve the problem. It perpetuates the problem. When you resist something, you take on the shape of that which you are resisting. You're practically becoming that which you are resisting. But if you can let it go and replace it with love, which is what you really are, then you're not at the effect of it anymore. You can be free, and all kinds of good things can come from that. Not that that's what it's about. What it's about is peace, inner peace. And, that may not sound so important to some people. The first time, because I was new to all this, I remember, and I would hear peace. Big deal. What's that going to get me? Well, it turns out that, like the Course says, a tranquil mind is not a little gift. It's a huge gift. And there are things like in
the jackpot. Is the jackpot.
It can lead to the jackpot, even though it's an illusion. I mean, it's more fun, so it's fun to be inspired. And for example, in the Song of Prayer section, the Course will talk about the secret of true prayer. Forget about the things you think you need. You let them go, kind of like in a creative visualization, you let them go into God's hands, and they become your gifts to him, because you're telling him that you have no false idols before him. That now you're putting the horse before the cart. Now you're putting God first. And there are certain things that the Bible said that have always been true. Like when it said, seek ye first the kingdom of heaven, and all else will be added unto you. Well, you're putting God first. And then these other things can follow. Now, those other things are not the purpose of the prayer. The purpose of the prayer is what the Course calls a song of love, a song of prayer. And you get lost in God's love, which also puts your mind more in a state of spirit, which leads to inspiration. And you get all these great ideas later. The Course calls that the echoes of God's love. So you go to God first, forget about everything, and then later on, you get these inspired ideas that can lead you to incredible things. And it's okay. It's okay to be successful. That's not the purpose of the prayer, but it is an after effect. The Course calls it that, the after effects, the echoes of God's love, the harmonics, the overtones of the song. The real song is a song of love, but along with it comes these other things, but those things are secondary. So it's kind of like, instead of just going for stuff in the world or a goal or a dream that you have in the world, if you just go for that, then you may end up with that, you may not. But if you put God first, you can have both. You can have the kingdom of heaven, which is the real goal. And you can have all this other stuff in the world. But now there's an attitude where you know that by putting God first, you're putting something first that is permanent. You know, something that will last forever, a constant reality that will always be there. And these other secondary things that you do and that you go for, and the goals and the dreams that you have in possessions and accomplishments, all those things, you understand that, just like the Buddhists would say, all that's impermanence. You know, it's not reality. And there is a permanent reality now that you were putting first, and that works. And you know, putting all the temporary stuff first does not work, and it does not really lead to inspiration.
Thank you, Gary. That is so beautiful. I love learning from you, brother.
A lot of people in history who have accomplished seemingly miraculous things, most of them, whether they articulated it or not, were quite spiritual. You know, most of them were looking to some kind of infinite intelligence. Like if you read a book like Think and Grow Rich, you'll see a lot of people got their ideas not from themselves. They were looking to something higher than themselves. They were looking to something bigger than themselves to get that inspiration from.
So I hear you say that when you are in conflict with someone, so you gave the example of Cindy, the vaccination and the workshops.
Yeah, I'm gonna get her.
No. What you said. No. I was listening. What you said is that you see the essence and the permanence of that essence behind Cindy and behind the person that says, look, there's going to be a change in terms of how we do those workshops and whether we do them together or single. So the key is forgiveness, and it is important to engage. So what you do is you keep seeing the essence. First off, you understand that she's offering you an opportunity to come to know yourself. You see the essence and the permanence of that essence of who she is in her, and by so doing, you find yourself.
Yeah. And you know, I just hope that when you find yourself, you won't be disappointed. So if you find the real self, you know, if you find your real self, then you won't be disappointed.
You won't be disappointed.
No.
How do we cultivate peace, Gary?
Well, you cultivate peace by the way that you see things. You know, you're not going to change the world. As the Course Master would put it, the world is merely an effect. So it is incapable of change. But if you change your mind about the world, now you're dealing with the cause, and the effect will take care of itself. You know, so you're really totally reversing the way that you think. And that will lead to inner peace. And I've said this before, but it really does bear repeating. The people of the world will never live in peace until the people of the world have inner peace.
Yeah.
You know, as long as there is that conflict in the mind, in the unconscious mind, you will have that conflict out there on the screen. You can have war, violence, murder, terrorism, insanity, outrageous acts. I mean, just it's not going to go away. As long as that conflict is there in the mind, it has to show up in the effect. And the day will come, you know, way off in the future, when enough beings in the world and in the universe have inner peace, that outer peace would literally have to follow. It couldn't be any other way. It's like cause and effect. And that's the way it's going to be. And there will be inner peace and there will be outer peace eventually. And we don't have to wait. You know, we can do our part now and go home to God if we want to. Nobody says you have to. You know, that's a personal decision.
Mhm.
But if you choose that, well, you can still enjoy the world while you appear to be here. And yeah, well, people say, well, gee, if I put God first, then I may have to give up this, I may have to give up that, and I'm not going to identify with my body as much anymore, and I can't enjoy my body as much anymore. I don't want to give that up. And I hate to tell these people, but a few years from now, they're going to have to give up that body anyway.
Yeah, we all do.
Whether they like it or not, the time is going to come when they're going to have to let go of that body.
Mhm.
So why not do it now and change your identity to something that is permanent, so that when you do lay that body aside, you've got something going for you that is permanent. And you're actually kind of like creating your future, because the mind is going to keep going. When you lay that body aside, your mind is going to keep going. But what kind of condition is your mind going to be in when that time comes? It can be in a condition of peace and love. It may go home to God. It may return here, one more time. But I've always said, if there's one lifetime that's worth coming back for, it would probably be the last one, because it would be very interesting to become enlightened.
Tell me more about that. Yeah, why would the last one be really the best yet?
Because you get the ultimate experiences. Where you're part human, but you know that you're not human.
Yeah.
And you're not identifying with the body of the world anymore. The body at that point will become so light that it feels like the figure in a dream that it really is. My teacher Persa told me that she only feels enough to function. She only feels the body enough to function. And she doesn't even have to do that. She just did that to communicate.
Yeah.
And your body becomes like a figure in a dream, and it becomes so elastic that it's almost impossible to hurt it, which is the condition that Jesus was in at the end of his illusory time here. And it's fun to be here and to not be able to feel any physical pain. And that sounds pretty far out, because it sounded really far out to me at first. And then you see Jesus saying things in the Course like, you will be like me, we will be equal as teachers. And when I first saw that, I thought, yeah, right. Yeah, sure, I'm going to be like Jesus. And the only reason that I reacted that way was because I just couldn't picture myself. Remember, when I started doing A Course in Miracles, I wasn't very high up the ladder yet. And I didn't even really think of myself as being a very good person. And I didn't realize that that had nothing to do with reality. It had to do with this unconscious guilt that was in my mind that could be traced all the way back to that original idea of being separate from God, and the stupid mistake that I thought that I made. And as time went on, and I started to get in touch with my innocence, when you undo some of that guilt. And that's one of the fun things about doing the workbook of A Course in Miracles. As you go along in that first year, you may start to get in touch a little bit with your innocence. You mean I'm innocent? I haven't really done anything. I'm not a bad person. I'm a good person.
We yearn so much for it. We become more aware of just how much we yearn for that innocence. Yeah.
Yeah, and I started to feel different about myself. And it affected my health even the first year that I did the course. I could tell, I could just feel it. And there would be times when I'd be sitting around and all of a sudden I would just feel really, really good. And I all of a sudden connected, the reason I feel so good is because I've been doing this forgiveness thing. And I started to realize that I was really forgiving myself. It looked like I was forgiving these people, who I still thought were real at the time. But even beginner's forgiveness is better than no forgiveness. So all forgiveness is good. It's just that there are more advanced forms of forgiveness where you're thinking more in terms of oneness instead of separation, instead of I'm forgiving somebody who's actually out there, to there's really only one of us. So if I forgive that person, even if it doesn't look that way, I'm actually forgiving myself, and I'm the one who is getting the benefits of it. I'm the one who's going to feel better and happier and healthier and younger. And I'm not guaranteeing, physical effects, because even though there's always a healing that comes about when you practice forgiveness, the Course says that it may not always have visible effects. Sometimes those effects could be in somebody else, or at the subatomic level in your body or somebody else's image. I actually prefer nowadays to use the word image than body, because that's all that they are. They're just images. And whenever I look in the mirror to get ready to go out, I'll say, oh, that's an image. And it's easy to relate when you look in the mirror, because it's just an image.
Yeah.
Oh, that's not really me in the mirror. That's an image of me in the mirror. And start thinking that way. Oh, that's who I am. I'm just an image. I'm not a real person. And I know most people don't think that way at first. But the Course is saying the images you make cannot prevail against what God Himself would have you be. So there is a real you that is not just an image. There is a real you that is exactly the same as God. And I really think in terms that way nowadays, because I'm finishing up the book I'm writing with Cindy. And then Art and Persa are doing a 5th book with me. And they're really stressing the kind of like end part of the journey, the going home part.
Yeah.
And what it's like and what it feels like and what it looks like and the way that you think and that kind of thing, the way that you feel. And I'm excited about that. So I want to get this, stupid book with Cindy over with so I can get to the real thing.
Forgiveness
No, I'm
journey.
kidding.
Cindy, I will tell on you.
No, I think that people are going to be very interested in the book that Cindy and I are writing, because it's not, it's not mostly about our relationship. It is some about our relationship, definitely, but it's more about the dynamics. It's more about how do you forgive somebody else? And there are all kinds of relationships. Yeah, you have your personal relationships, but you have very important relationships at work. And I would say most people have forgiveness relationships at work.
Oh, goodness. Yes, of course.
And when I was a musician, I had big time forgiveness relationships with the people who I worked with.
Yeah.
And you spend a lot of time at work, most people, no matter what kind of profession you have. And there are always egos.
Yes.
And there are always things to forgive. And sometimes, I actually almost came to physical blows with people that I worked with back when I was in my 20s and 30s. So, I don't think that would happen today.
Yeah.
Even under the same circumstances, I don't think that would happen today. I would look at it completely differently. And it really is more fun to be at peace than to not be at peace. It really is more fun to think of yourself as being spirit than to think of yourself as being a body. It really is more fun to know the truth than to not know the truth. So this is a happy form of spirituality. It can lead to very happy things. And I'm not going to say that, oh, if you do this, everything's going to go good. Because this place that we appear to find ourselves in, the disappearance of the universe referred to it as psychoplanet. So I wouldn't expect everything to go good on psychoplanet. But at the same time, when things do go good, you can enjoy them even more than you did before. And when things don't go good, well, at least you know what to do with it. You know how to look at it. And that will result in the way that you feel about it. You will feel differently. If I forgive, I will see this differently. And if you see things differently, everything flows from that. The way that you feel is determined by the way that you think and the way that you see things and look at things. And, there's a lot of people out there who they're not real people, but they look like real people and they think that they're real people. And, they wonder why they're not happy.
Mhm.
Well, look at the way they've been thinking about other people, and they haven't had a discipline. They haven't had a thought system that they can rely on that tells them, well, no, this is the way that you should look at that. Instead of reacting to it
Yeah.
and making it real and having it determine how you feel, you should be able to determine how you feel by the way that you're thinking and by the way that you're looking at it. And that is a really powerful place to be coming from, instead of being at the effect of it, which has no power whatsoever. And there's certainly no power in being a victim. Yeah. And I'm not saying that there aren't people out there who appear to be victims. And I'm not saying that I don't have empathy for them. It's just that I empathize with them as who they really are. And want to remind them in my mind who they really are, instead of thinking that they're this dream figure that they thought that they were.
Yeah. What kind of advice would you give to someone that, say, is not very prepared to look at, or they have made it a habit to see the world coming at them instead of from them? If they're prepared to have a change in mind, what would you say to them? What would be a good place to start?
I would tell them to stop it. I can tell you a quick joke because I heard this from Bob Newhart, who's one of my favorites.
I love that video.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's playing a psychiatrist.
Yeah.
And this woman comes into his office. And she says, "Oh, doctor, you got to help me. I keep having this terrible fear of being buried alive in a box." He says, "Well, first of all, okay, I charge by the minute, and if I go over 5 minutes, I'm gonna have to charge you more." She says, "Well, that doesn't sound like very long." He says, "Yeah, it's fine." And so she says, "Well, I have this fear of being buried alive in a box." And he looks at her and he says, "Well, stop it." And she says, "Stop it." "Yeah, stop it." And she said, "Well, that's not enough. You can't just say stop it. I mean, I need more than that to go on." And she keeps frowning and worrying about it. And she goes over the 5 minute mark and he says, "I'm gonna have to charge you more now." And he went over 5 minutes and she says, "That's not fair. I really need more than that." And so finally he says, "Okay, I'll give you more words. Stop it or I'll bury you alive in a box." Right. And it's like,
Oh.
the reason I love that is because it actually entails the first step in the kind of forgiveness that I'm talking about. Because the world is coming, it appears to be coming at you. And if there is one thing like great masters like Jesus and Buddha really understood, is that the world was not being done to them. It was being done by them. And if the world is being done to you, you're a victim. And if this world was made by God, you would be a victim of God, because you would be the victim of a force that is outside of you that did it to you. But what if God is still perfect love, just like the Course says, which gives you a perfect home to go home to? And what if you're the one who made all this up, right? Well, then you're not a victim. And you can start coming from a place where you realize, okay, this is my world. It's not real, but it's my world. It's my projection. It's a dream. The dream is not being dreamed by somebody else. It's my dream. And I populated it with these dream figures that I made up, just like the Course says, you made it up. And all these people are completely unreal. The world is a hallucination. The Course uses several words to describe it: hallucination, projection, and especially dream. You're at home in God dreaming of exile. but perfectly capable of awakening to reality. And that awakening is enlightenment. And as soon as you can reverse that and start to realize, wait a minute, I don't have to react to it if I made it up. I'm responding to something that literally is not there. I'm responding to something that I made up, and there's no need for that. If you can just get to that point where you can stop yourself from reacting to it, then you have really made a huge progression, because now you can actually switch to the right teacher in your mind. You can stop reacting with it. That's always the ego. If you're reacting to it, the wrong part of your mind.
Mhm.
But if you can stop reacting to it, now you can think, and you can think with the Holy Spirit. You can think with the right teacher, and the right teacher will give you right-minded ideas, whichever right-minded ideas are right for you. And it may be something like, the reason that you were upset was because you were making it real and reacting to it. And you know why that's true, and you know why you know that's true, because if you weren't making it real, you wouldn't be upset. So you got to stop making it real and listen to the Holy Spirit. That's like the second step in forgiveness. The third step will be, okay, I'm not making it real. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to replace it with something. I'm going to overlook the veil. I'm going to think outside of the box, and I'm going to overlook the veil, and I'm going to think of that person not as this image that I made up. I'm going to recognize what they really are. And what they really are is way beyond what they thought that they are. The Holy Spirit has a much higher opinion of you than you do. And the Holy Spirit thinks of you as being nothing less than God. Don't forget, at one point, the Course says, everywhere the Holy Spirit looks, he sees himself. Because the Holy Spirit knows that you're really the same as the Holy Spirit is. In fact, ultimately, you will realize that you are the Holy Spirit. But that's, an experience that's very advanced. When you realize that there's really no difference between you and the Holy Spirit, or you and Jesus, or Christ, or God, because those are words that are only meaningful in the dream. But when you really start to awaken from the dream, you realize, well, once you get up to that level of spirit, it's all the same. There's no difference. It's all perfect oneness. That's reality. And the fastest way for you to get there is to overlook the images and replace it in your mind with reality. So now that person that you were reacting to, or even the world that you were reacting to, is nothing but perfect oneness. The Course describes heaven, and God would be the same. It would all be the same as the awareness of perfect oneness, and the knowledge that there is nothing else outside, nothing else within. And it's possible for you to experience that, and you will experience that eventually if you keep undoing the ego in this manner. That's what this kind of forgiveness does. It actually undoes the ego, and you don't have to do anything about the rest. The rest will take care of itself, because that's what you are. And you will experience love more, and you will teach love more. This kind of forgiveness leads to love automatically, because that's what you are. So you don't have to, become more loving. You don't have to do that Christian thing where you're striving to be like Jesus. Not that most of them in America are, but it's like, if you're striving to be like Jesus, no, you don't have to do that. That's what you are.
Yeah.
You are like Jesus. You are love. And Jesus loved everybody and forgave everybody without exception. And that's the hard part. It has to apply to everybody, no matter what.
Yeah.
So these people who you think aren't worthy of your forgiveness, that's your own feeling of unworthiness that you are seeing out there on the screen. And the only way to be free of that is to forgive that image that you're making unworthy in your mind. And if you do, that unworthiness will disappear from your mind, the part of the mind that you can't see, but that the Holy Spirit can see and heals every time you do this.
So you're writing the next book.
Yeah, I'm really shocked at how much art and person have learned since they started talking to me.
Mark Twain, was it Mark Twain that was talking about his dad? He said, when I was 19 or so, and my dad wasn't very smart, but I was really surprised how much he he grew up. By the time I was 29, he learned an awful lot.
Yeah, that's great. I love that.
So the same with
I love a
Ajahn
lot of
Versa.
I love a lot of the things that Mark Twain said. He said, go to heaven for the weather, and go to hell for the company. I love some of the things that. He said.
Wow. Yeah. Very intriguing guy, very smart guy, very funny guy. So transitioning, my goodness, what a month this has been with Judy transitioning.
Yeah.
And I know
Mhm.
that you and I said that we want to talk a little bit about that as well. And so, are you writing? You're writing a little bit of a book. You're writing a book about that with Ajahn Versa. Is that what I'm hearing you say?
Oh, well, we're going to talk a little bit about
A little bit about that.
Yes,
And you're going to talk about Judy too? Yeah.
In my fourth book,
Yeah.
we dedicated 2 or 3 pages to Ken Wapnick.
Mm.
And the thing I noticed about both Ken and Judy was how they treated me. Because I didn't expect anything. If they had not even been nice to me, it wouldn't have surprised me or bothered me, because I figured they earned it. They worked so hard, and they disseminated A Course in Miracles to the world. They did their job.
Yeah.
And so if they didn't have time for me, or they just saw me as being some kind of a nuisance or something, that wouldn't have really surprised me. And you know what? I got to know both of them.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget how kind they were to me. And Ken even told me once, he said, be kind, because he knew that I was going to be out there teaching the Course to people. And that kind of always stayed with me. I've undergone a complete transformation from the time that I started doing the Course. And I am kind to people, and I don't go out of my way.
You're kind and generous and most loving. Gary, truly you are. You really are. Not sure how many people have come close to you and got to know you a little bit, but I have come, and my daughter and Azena have come to know you over the years. You're the most gentlest, loving, kind, generous human being I've ever met.
Well, there, came a point along the way where that just happened naturally. Now I don't have to go out of my way to try to be kind.
To be kind.
To people. There was a time when I had to try.
Oh, and I know both Ken and Judy adored you. They loved you. I mean, you've been over to Judy's, been over to Ken's. Ken used to mess up your hair and do all sorts of funny things. I mean, I will never forget, we were in a workshop with Azena, and I think Azena was at the back, and she went like this to him, and he went in the middle of a workshop. He was talking. He went like that to her. In the middle of a workshop. I do have a picture. Incredible. So just very kind, very loving, very authentic, very real. Oh my goodness.
The last time that I saw Judy, she was almost 90 years old, and she was just as sharp as ever. And she loved to tell the stories of the early days of the Course. And if you went to visit Judy, you didn't have to talk very much, because she would tell you all these stories, fascinating stories.
She was amazing at it. Amazing. Great storyteller.
And I'm so grateful that I got to do a podcast with her in the spring. And she was the same, just as sharp as ever.
Yeah.
And always on top of her game. And, there's something that the Course says about the body. It says that it can be used as a communication tool for the Holy Spirit, to be gently laid aside when its usefulness is over. And I really think of Ken and Judy as being communication instruments for the Holy Spirit. And they communicated the Holy Spirit's message really well, not only by teaching it intellectually, but obviously by living it. They really lived it. When I saw the way that Ken treated me, I got to be with him quite a few times. And I realized, even the first time, I'd been probably studying the Course for about 5 years, the first time that I met him, now it's been about 30 years. But the thing is, I realized, he's not just talking about the Course. He's not just teaching it intellectually. And the first weekend, by the way, that I saw him teach, he probably spoke for about 12 hours. And this is in Roscoe, New York. And it was a weekend thing. He spoke for about 12 hours, and he was just incredible. It's like he dazzled me with his knowledge. And, just the most sophisticated spiritual person I ever met. But when I got to be alone with him and talk to him, and I saw the way that he treated me, I realized, you know what? This guy isn't just talking about it. He's not just teaching it, he's living it. I mean, he's actually doing it. And I felt the same way about Judy when I finally got to meet her. And I went over to her house, and then eventually Cindy and I both went over to her house. And the way that she treated me was exactly the same. You would have thought that they are the Holy Spirit, which is why I was kind of saying that earlier, because I think that they were in touch with that they actually became the Holy Spirit over time. And I think that they were both enlightened. That's my opinion.
Yeah, that's my opinion as well.
So, good for them. They did their job in more ways than one.
Yeah, to the last moment, to the last breath.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so I'll always be grateful to Judy and to Ken. I didn't get to meet Helen and Bill. I know that Helen did her job. She couldn't do the course, but she certainly did her job, exactly what Jesus expected her to do. I love that story where Helen says to Jesus, "Why me? Why me?" And he simply says, "Well, because you would do it."
Yeah.
But since she was doing it, she couldn't argue with him because there she was doing it. And of course, Bill, Judy says that she thinks that Bill was enlightened. So I think all three of them, Ken, as well as Judy and Bill, I think all three of them were enlightened. I know that they did their job. And me, I don't know. What our person said to me, they said, the time will come when you're going to be so happy that you won't care whether or not you're enlightened. And so maybe when you stop thinking about it, that's when you are, and you just experience. You just being, your spirit being. You know that you're not a body, and you don't identify with the body. And I'm not saying that you're not going to have bodily problems. Everybody will eventually. And obviously Ken did, and Bill and Judy, because that's what the body does. The body was not designed to last forever, and it's not going to last forever. And that's why I tell people, look, the body is a throwaway. It's like, something that you're just going to throw in the trash can someday.
You can look at somebody's body and guess whether or not they're enlightened. I mean, for goodness sake, look at Jesus. He has nails in his hands. I mean, really, so no, that's not a metric of enlightenment.
That's right. And so the thing is that the time comes when okay, so the body isn't going to last. So what? It's not me. And you start to experience yourself more and more as spirit. And that is caused by the way that you think. Remember, the Course says the mind is the activating agent of spirit. You activate spirit in your own mind by seeing it everywhere and treating everybody like they are a god. Because that's the only way to really get in touch with what you really are. It's by thinking and seeing about everybody as being nothing less than God. And speaking of God, I have a surprise for you.
Oh.
We have a special guest artist, the artist formerly known as Cindy Lora, now known as Cindy Lora-Renard. And Cindy's going to join us.
Oh my God, this is too precious. Oh my God,
everybody.
I
love you. Happy Thanksgiving in America.
Happy Thanksgiving in America. Sweetheart, I was just about to tell him, Cindy, Gary, I was just about to tell you, Gary, you look happy. Gary, I feel you happy. I think this is the happiest you've ever been. Am I right?
I have felt that more and more. Yes.
Yeah, I can tell.
Oh,
I can tell. And look at your beautiful wife. Oh, can you give yourselves a hug and have me there too as a virtual hug? I love you so much, guys. I love you. I
oh.
love you.
We feel the love. We feel the love.
Oh,
Gosh,
oh,
it's great
talking
to
about-
be able to just pop in.
so
like
nice
this.
to see
I'm
you.
sure you too. Yeah, and I agree. I think Gary looks very peaceful right
He
now.
does. And
Very
he-
happy and peaceful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He-
Yeah.
He seems to be talking, he's talking about what's happening with him. There is a gateway inside his being that has been opened, and he's leaving his essence, his pure permanent essence. This is just it's so evident to me. It's so evident to me.
That's beautiful. That's
Yeah.
beautiful. I agree. I think so too. I think he has a glowing look about him right now, and that's a testament to some, I think, beautiful life changes in healthy ways in general. I just mean in general. I think that's what happens when you start taking care of yourself. You know, you exude a different kind of, really, without sounding too new agey, I'll just use the word, but you kind of exude a different vibration.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, you can't practice forgiveness for 30 years without something happening. So,
Yeah, forgiveness.
Exactly. It does this thing, just suddenly you feel more happier, things
you do.
more centered.
And when I do forgive, and a lot of times I don't have to, but if I do, there's a part of me that knows, look, I'm the one who's going to feel better. I'm the one who's going to be happier. I'm the one who's going to get the results of that forgiveness. So always remember that, just like the Course says, as you see him, you will see yourself. And if that person is the same as God, which means not part of it, remember the Course says spirit is not a partial attribute. Deep down inside, you overlook the separation, because the Course's main teaching, the full awareness of the atonement, is that separation never occurred. So now you're thinking, you know what, that person never really left heaven. They're still at home, just like the Course says. And you think of them that way, and you start to realize, well, wait a minute, I never left heaven. And I'm still at home, and God is taking care of me. And I had this dream, but the dream is in its final phases, and it's going to end, and I'm going to awaken to that place that I never left, just like the Course calls it, a journey without distance. We never really went anywhere. We just thought that we did. It's all been one big mind trip. And everything that we do and see imitates that. The movies that we see, well, whether we go into a movie theater to see a movie, well, that's an imitation of what we're doing with our mind. We're watching a movie that we made. And there's so many things in the dream that imitate what goes on in the mind, but we see it as being outside of ourselves when it's really not.
Cindy, prior to you coming, we were talking a little bit about Judy and her passing, and her transitioning has only intensified my own belief and my own investment in what's real. It's really interesting to me because a few months before she passed, we were talking on the phone, and she said to me, I'm going to be more helpful to you when I transcend than I am now. And I couldn't quite understand what she meant by that. And then, she transitioned. And at one point, the morning so she transitioned around 8 o'clock in the morning, which we have a guest. All right, I think we're full of surprises today.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Let's see, who is this guest?
Oh, there's our special guest. Hi.
Oh my goodness. Azera and Cindy is a surprise. You're both surprises. You are surprises today.
Hey, happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
To you.
So much.
Happy birthday to you.
And thank you so much for the flowers. I have them right here.
Oh my
I'm so
goodness.
happy you got them.
Oh my goodness. Oh.
It's such a beautiful card too, but they're very pretty. Here, there you get the full turnaround there, but they're very pretty.
Oh, they look beautiful.
Like, it was such a nice surprise. I was just, doing some work at home and I got a call. It was very sweet. And the card is really sweet. And it's so nice that we can talk a little bit on my actual birthday too.
I know. Are you having a good
And do a
day?
podcast at the same time.
Oh, right. I keep
This
forgetting.
is going to be preview to everybody. Might as well. We tell everybody we've been friends for such a long time. Honey, I was just telling Cindy and Gary that Judy's passing, transcending, has only intensified my belief in what's real, in who we are. And being here with you today really, it just brings that, emphasizes that even more. We can never be apart. The love that we have, that we develop for one another, that investment,
That's right.
the understanding that ideas do not leave their source, that we could never leave each other, that we are going to love each other and be with each other forever. Azana, I love what you wrote in Judy's place where you could write comments, and I know both of you wrote,
On my website.
And then, yes, Annie, I love when you wrote, I will love you forever. Like, I had tears in my eyes reading that.
Oh. Oh.
And we will love you. We will
Beautiful.
love each other forever.
Yeah. Yeah. Just beautiful. Yeah. And Judy, you're, as you said, Gabriela, she's fully alive with us all, of course, more alive than ever. And her spirit is felt. It's felt. I dreamt of her last week, actually, and just an interesting, really interesting symbolic dream. It was beautiful. Yeah. Of her presence. So I think she's watching over everyone, and watching over things for sure. Yeah. Still playing an important role. Yeah. Still playing an important role. I know that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Elzani, you look fantastic. And, I'm just so amazed at all that you're doing. I know how busy you are. And, I can't believe that you're 22 years old.
I know.
What happened to that little girl that I knew? It happened so fast.
Yeah, no, I feel the exact same way, Gary. I still remember meeting you at the airport when I was 8 years old, I think. 7 or 8.
So.
I can't remember now. Wow. But yeah, time has flown by, truly.
It really has.
I'm glad we still have the pictures of all those times.
Yeah. Shout out to my mom, the paparazzi, but I'm glad.
I told you one day you guys are going to thank me.
Yeah. If there's Gary and Cindy around, guaranteed you'll always see my mom in hand with it, like camera in one hand and hugging in the other, Yeah.
It's a blessing.
Yeah. No, it is a blessing. So many lovely pictures that we have from the past, it's almost 15 years now, probably 8, 9, 20. Yeah, 15 years. 15 years now. Wow.
Incredible.
That's like 3/4 of my life.
That's right. And you're still my bestest friend.
You're my bestest friend forever. Boom. Anthony. Boom. That's it. No negotiations.
We have the BFF bugs you got us still that we use. I use them for my raw celery juice every morning. And for shakes, and yeah.
That's so cute.
Yeah.
So sweet. Oh.
Beautiful BFF mugs. Yeah.
I always have a heart right here, so
Yeah.
always have it on me. Like, I don't ever take it off. Yeah.
Yeah. And you've had a deep, understanding of the Course ever since you were a child. So that always amazed me.
Thank you, Carrie. That's really sweet.
And
Thanks so much.
have you pretty much decided on that you want to be a psychiatrist, or have you not made up your mind yet?
Clinical psychologist. Have decided. Applied to grad school last week, and I still have that was for one of the deadlines, and then I have 4 applications on the go right now, as the deadline's December 1st. So it's getting pretty serious. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yes.
Gary and I tried so hard to move her away from this area. No psychology. Forget clinical research, any kind of psychologist. That's no. I put a big X on it. The harder I tried, the more I failed. Look at her. She went exactly in the one direction I didn't want her to go in.
it's pretty hard to say no when it's your path, you know? Can't get it out of the way.
That's true.
Yeah, but
She's building on other lifetimes. Also.
Yeah, I know.
I think one of the things that's, there's so many things that are similar between the four of us, but I think one of the main things is the wanting to help people. Like that's just a life mission. Like I can't even say it's a need or a want, it's a life mission. That's, I think all of us were, it's just kind of our, yeah, I think it's a life mission, at least for our lifetimes. And I think that's how I feel too. And, I don't think I was, I think I just wanted to help people, and I still really want to help people. And I think that's what I want to do. And, Cindy and Gary, they do it all the time. Their books, their talks, their workshops, their online classes, everything. And you do it too, Mama, in your work. So, yeah.
Absolutely. Those words from the Course keep coming back. I'm here only to be truly helpful.
Yeah.
And I think that's what we all want to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is like perfect for our Thanksgiving week here. I know you've already had your Thanksgiving.
Oh, is it Thursday? It's Thursday, right? The 25th?
Yeah.
Oh, right, because that's so sweet.
And it's like that workbook lesson, love is the way I walk in gratitude.
Yeah.
That's perfect attitude for Thanksgiving. It's perfect attitude to have all the time.
Yeah.
And I'm really feeling that right now with the four of us being together.
Yeah, this is really
I love this. Yeah.
Yeah, we need to do this more often.
Yeah.
Yeah, we definitely do.
Yeah, because we usually do the three of us. Like you'll talk to my mom, like with you two, and then I'll talk to you separately. But yeah. Thanksgiving is one of my favorite holidays, so I hope that you have such a lovely Thanksgiving.
We will. We're going to go to Jackie and Mark's place this year. Last year we were here at our place.
Yeah.
And I'll be making my pumpkin pie as usual. Pumpkin pie with cranberry sauce. And, but they, my mom and Mark and Jackie and Gary and I, it'll just be the five of us.
That's really sweet.
Oh my goodness.
Well, the early years when I was doing A Course in Miracles, I was with Karen, and I always went to her in-laws with her two brothers. So there were like six of us there, and all they would talk about all day was sports. Now I can talk about sports for an hour, but not 6 hours. And now Cindy and I go over and we have Thanksgiving with Jackie and Mark and Cindy's mom, Doris, who I call Mumsy. And all day we talk about A Course in Miracles. And, I mean, it's like, two different worlds, two complete different worlds. Not that there was anything wrong with Maine, because I can't picture art in person doing the disappearance of the universe anyplace else. Other than that, it was perfect. But I'm so grateful now when Thanksgiving rolls around and I don't have to talk about sports all day.
Now we just talk about ETs.
And A Course in Miracles.
Sounds like an upgrade to me.
Yeah.
I always say we should be recording our conversations every time we get together. We should be recording.
We should be. I love this.
You have three parental figures right here on the screen.
And it's funny, on my screen, you see the three of us on top, and then you see Alzina there at the bottom.
Looking down on me.
Very appropriate. Yes, sweetheart. I'm so proud of you. That's just, it's a great year. She's applying for schools. Can you believe this is happening? Doing a wonderful thesis in child psychopathology. She has an amazing supervisor at school.
Yeah.
She's doing very important research on sleep and how it affects development, which is also so important. It's a major issue, especially, and if you don't have a good sleep hygiene when you're young, it really affects your development later on. So,
yeah.
And it's interesting because the sleep does relate. It's a dream, right? We're talking about a dream state, and it does. There's that commonality between discussions around sleep and dreaming and the Course in Miracles and perspectives on life. So I'm kind of intrigued as to how all this came down Alzena's path, There are no coincidences, I know.
No coincidences, yeah.
Lots to be grateful for, though.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Lots to be grateful for. Lots to be grateful.
Dreaming is actually, when you're in bed at night, it actually is an important function for it is. I mean, if we're talking at this level, it's important to go into that REM sleep. You know?
Yeah.
You
wouldn't have a deep sleep without it.
Yeah. Right.
You wake up feeling restless every day. People that get awoken in REM stages, when they fall asleep, they become delusional and start having hallucinations and stuff because it's so necessary for functioning.
It is.
Yeah, so it's like a dualistic thing because there are good parts to it that are important. But it's also a trick to make you believe that because this seems so much more real most of the time than the dreams we have in bed at night, then this must be reality. So it's a trick of levels to make us think that this is real and this isn't real either. It's just a thing where in reality there are no levels, and in the world of dreams there are all kinds of levels.
Yeah. And it's actually interesting that you say that, Gary, because 70% of dreams are actually bad dreams. You know, we can't remember them all, but it's not good dreaming most of the time, which is interesting.
Well, unfortunately, I have a good memory. So.
Oh man.
I think it's almost like dreaming can be a defense mechanism in a sense, you know, because you're, like you said, Alzana, if we're dreaming a lot of nightmares, we don't necessarily want to remember those.
Oh, exactly.
Like a defense, you know.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's always interesting because we can always speak on two levels. The course's metaphysical level and then the level of this dream, you know. And it's interesting because there's different aspects to it, but it's all important in the sense that we can just use it. We just use it to awaken from the entire dream. That's good.
Now, since we're here and we're still in the middle of a podcast, I'm going to ask you a question. I've asked this question of Gary, and I want to ask you the same question. How do we best cultivate peace?
By rejoining with what you really are on a more consistent basis through true prayer, rejoining and going within, spending more time in the inner world and remembering, which is the miracle, remembering you are dreaming periods throughout the day, remembering the power of choice, that you get to always choose how you're perceiving the world around you. If that's being practiced on a daily basis, that helps to cultivate that sense of peace, but especially the rejoining with God part, really starting to re-identify yourself as godlike, not, you know, the God that we made, the ego's God, but we start to really identify with our reality more and more. That brings peace when it's practiced, you know, on a daily basis, and filling oneself up with gratitude that we have so many opportunities to choose again and to remember our reality if we use them for that purpose. So I know for me, that's really, really helped.
Oh, yeah.
So.
I know as soon as I remember the truth, I feel better. I feel more peaceful. And when the Course says be vigilant only for God and his kingdom, I know that sounds like a pretty difficult thing to do, but you get into the habit of it. And when the Course says miracles are habits, you get used to thinking a certain way, that whenever anything happens that I don't like, I recognize it immediately, I forgive it, it's over. You know, I can do it in 1 second. Because as soon as I remember the truth, then what was bothering me disappears, and it's replaced by the truth of where I really am. So that's why I love that line in the Course. You know, how else can you find joy in a joyless place except by realizing you are not there? Mm-hmm. And as soon as I remember the truth, I'm not really here. And then this dream can't affect me. It can only affect me if I'm making it real. And looking back on it, the last 30 years, every single time that I needed to forgive something, it was because I was making something real. And if I stop making it real, it's over, because now I'm replacing it with the truth. And you can learn to do that very quickly. And the faster you can do it, the more time you're going to spend at peace.
Cindy and Gary just said everything I think that needs to be said.
That's right. So you're going to be at peace whether you like it or not.
Gary, do you remember when I was little and you said,
you're going to be at peace and you're going to like it.
You're going to be at peace and you're going to like it.
You will like it.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Gary, Cindy, Alzana, thank you so much for being my guest today. thank you so much for letting me learn from you and for us to share our love with everybody listening. I'm sure that
Thank
we'll do
you.
this
We love
again.
you so much.
Oh,
Mama, love you.
thank you for this. I don't know, creating the space for us to come together, and it's just always good to
Yes,
see you.
and have a
all
great
It's just always good.
have a great
Yeah.
holiday season. This
Oh.
is going to be a great holiday season, I think.
Yeah.
I hope
Yeah.
so. I so hope. The same with you. Have a wonderful Thanksgiving, and for everyone
Oh,
listening, a
thank
happy Thanksgiving. Say hi to Jackie and Mumsy and Mark.
Oh, yeah.
And Mark.
We
And I
it's
hope
Oh,
It was so nice to talk to you both, Cindy and Gary.
Oh my
Just
gosh.
a little bit.
I know, on your B-Day. This
Oh
is
my
just,
baby.
incredible again to me. I just,
yes, once again, happy birthday.
happy
We love
birthday.
you.
We love you
Mwah.
so much.
Love you
all.
both so much.
Thank you so much. And we're going to talk again probably before
very
Christmas.
soon.
Definitely.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
Love you guys.
Yeah,
Love
we
you
love
both.
you. Oh, we love you so much.
We'll
Okay.
see.
Huge hugs. This was just so much fun. Thank you. And thank you for the beautiful
Have a-
surprises.
Have a good evening too tonight. Have fun.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay.
Love you both.
Love you.
Love you too. We'll see you.
Bye.
This concludes my podcast with Gary Renard and my other two guests. More information about Gary and his work can be found at www.garyrenard.com. Well, happy holidays, everyone. Until next time, be well and take care of yourselves.